We are moving on to topic one, lesson five, the rise of civilizations. In your Google Classroom, you will find the textbook. Please open it. Once you have it open for lesson five, it will look like what you have here on the right of my video. It will be page one of your Savas lesson textbook. Once you have your textbook open, go ahead and click on the assignment digital notebook and video for lesson. Please open your digital notebook. And let's start with our lesson.
Lesson 5. The Rise of Civilizations. As farming spread, many small settlements appeared. In time, some villages grew into cities. In this lesson, you will read about the rise of early civilizations. Startup. Examine.
Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and watch this video.
When we look at early human history, we talk about civilizations. What exactly do we mean by that? The great early civilizations grew up in Asia and Africa, mainly in the valleys of great rivers, which supplied water for farming, like the Nile in Egypt, the Indus in India, and the Tigris and Euphrates in the Middle East. Different peoples lived there, and their civilizations were different in many ways. But they all shared certain features that help define just what a civilization is. In fact, those features are still generally true for today's civilizations, the ones you and I live in today. Long before civilizations grew up, people in many places were living in farming villages. Over time, some villages grew into towns and then into cities with thousands of residents. Once you had cities, you had the basis for what historians see as a civilization. Cities grew up mainly where people had enough resources like land and water and food. They probably had other resources too, like minerals or crops to trade with nearby people. Someone had to figure out how to store the corn or wheat or other resources and manage them for everyone. And so, to have a civilization, you had to have government. A central government could do a lot of things that scattered cities and towns couldn't do on their own. People began to work together to create things that would eventually make up the basics of a civilization. Officials could organize people to build walls and defend the city from enemies. People might work together to dig canals to water their fields or build roads to expand the trade routes. A central government could also organize workers to build great public works projects, huge structures like the Great Wall of China or the Pyramids of Egypt. Many of those, of course, depended on unwilling workers, slaves, or prisoners of war, or the very poor. Government was not the only thing that brought people together. Early civilizations also had an organized shared religion. Rulers and nobles were also often priests. While this is less true today, shared values are still a uniting bond. So many people living together in one place meant a more varied and interesting population. A great city needed people who could do many different specialized jobs, from cooks and carpenters to scribes and musicians. It also gave all kinds of artists the chance to produce great works of art and architecture. Some were huge, like the pyramids, while others might be delicate gold jewelry or a carved statue of a lion. They all gave the civilization its own special culture. Just as in the earlier towns, people ended up in different social classes, some rich, many poor, some in the middle. Finally, most great civilizations had a writing system. That let people keep records, write history and poetry, and pass ideas on to people thousands of years later. So, what is a city? A civilization? Basically, cities were the centers of religion, government, and culture. A few also became centers of a civilization, which brought together cities and towns inside one complex society. People lived under a well-organized government with merchants, craftspeople, farmers, and other workers that kept things running. Civilizations can seem, and in fact are, very different from one another. But even today, as you've seen, they all have a number of things in common. How do major features of civilization appear in your community? Which do you think are more or less important today?
All right. At this time, go ahead and define on page 1 of your digital notebook. You have civilization, resource, religion, and social class. Civilization, we've already looked at these 4 words: complex society that has cities, a well-organized government, and workers with specialized job skills. Resource, supply of something that can be used as needed. Religion, people's beliefs and practices about the existence, nature, and worship of a god or gods. And social class, group of people living in similar economic conditions. Pause my video and do page 1 of your digital notebook, defining your vocab words using these definitions that I just read. Moving on, page 2 of your digital notebook. Click next one time, and that is where we will begin.
How did cities lead to civilizations? As early cities grew in size and power, some of them became centers of civilizations. A civilization is a complex society that has cities, a well-organized government, and workers with specialized job skills. The word civilization comes from the Latin word civis, meaning resident of a city.
All right, so your first question on page 2 of your digital notebook: what is a civilization? You will want to look in this highlighted text. I am going to highlight it pink. Go ahead and pause my video and get that answer now.
What resources were important? The rise of early civilizations depended on the creation of a food surplus. Creating that surplus, in turn, depended on the ability of people to manage their resources well. A resource is a supply of something that can be used as needed. The most important resources that people needed were fertile soil, fresh water, and seeds. However, these resources were worth little if people could not provide the labor and tools needed to produce enough food. Managing these resources well required a level of planning and organization that marked a new stage in human society.
All right, page 2 of your digital notebook, number 2. What were the most important resources for early civilizations? To find that, you are going to want to look in this paragraph. I will highlight it green. So the green highlight is where you will find the answer to number 2. Also, number 1 and number 2 on page 2 of your digital notebook are both on the quiz. Again, number 1 and 2, page 2 of your digital notebook are both on your quiz. Please pause my video and make sure that page 2 of your digital notebook is done correctly. Moving on to the next page of your digital notebook.
Where were early civilizations? Like the earliest villages, the earliest civilization also appeared in southwestern Asia, in the city-state of Sumer. In time, other civilizations appeared in different parts of the world.
Number 1, where did the earliest civilization develop? To find that, it's in this first paragraph. Let's highlight it blue. And you will find the answer to number 1 on page 3 of your digital notebook.
4 of these early civilizations developed in the fertile valleys surrounding major rivers: the Nile in northeastern Africa, the Tigris and Euphrates in the southwest Asian area of Mesopotamia, the Indus in South Asia, and the Huang River in China. River valleys provided a good setting for permanent settlements. Each year the rivers rose and flooded the nearby land. When the floodwaters went down, a fresh layer of fertile soil remained that farmers could use to grow crops. Not all early civilizations began in river valleys. Greek civilization, for example, emerged on a rocky peninsula in southeastern Europe and a series of islands in the eastern Mediterranean Sea. Civilizations also changed their surrounding environment. Farmers near rivers built irrigation systems. Civilizations in the Americas cut down trees and burned them to create farmland. People cleared land to build houses, temples, and markets.
All right, let's look at number 2. Why were river valleys good locations for permanent settlements and the rise of civilization? You will find that answer right there. I'm going to highlight it yellow. Go ahead and pause my video and get that answer now. And number 3, how are the early Greek and Mayan civilizations different from other early civilizations? That you will find in this part of this next paragraph. I'm going to highlight it in blue. Also, before I click pause, number 1, where did the earliest civilizations develop, is on the quiz. So page 3 of your digital notebook, number 1 is also on the quiz. Now pause and go ahead and get the answer to number 3. Moving on to page 4 of your digital notebook. This is click next 2 times, so I'll click next 1 more time. And we will start at the beginning.
What are the features of civilizations? The civilizations that arose in different parts of the world differed in many ways. Still, all of them had certain things in common. Most early civilizations shared 8 basic features: cities, organized governments, established religion, job specialization, social classes, public works, arts and architecture, and a system of writing.
All right, I will stop there. So number 1 on page 4 of your digital notebook, what 8 basic features did most early civilizations share? It goes through the entire list right here. I will highlight it in pink, pause my video, and get that answer now.
Cities. The first of these features was cities. Early cities emerged near farming centers. As food surpluses led to rapid population growth, villages grew into cities, and cities grew into civilizations. They served as centers of religion, government, and culture. A few ancient population centers, such as Damascus, Syria, are still major cities today.
Number 2, cities served as centers for. You will find that answer right here. I will highlight it in green. Pause my video and get that answer now.
Organized government. The second feature of early civilizations was a well-organized government. One role of government is managing society's resources so that people get those things they need to survive. A strong government can also form and train an army to defend a society from attack or to expand its borders. As populations grew, government became more difficult. Powerful rulers called warlords took control of tribes in larger areas and formed governments headed by kings or queens. They relied on large numbers of public officials who handled different duties.
Page 5, we've moved on to organized government. Number 1, what are the roles of government? You will find that answer. Let's see if we just look at the rest of this paragraph, highlighted in yellow. Pause my video and get the answer now.
Established religion. A third common feature of a civilization was an established religion, or a set of shared spiritual beliefs. Everyone generally followed the same beliefs and practices. Religion was often linked to government. Rulers of early civilizations usually claimed that their right to rule came from the gods. In China, for example, emperors were called sons of heaven.
Number 1, which of the 8 features of civilization is a set of shared spiritual beliefs? So right here, you will find the answer to that. I've highlighted in green. Pause my video and get that answer now. Number 1 is also on your quiz. Number 1 on page 6 of your guided notes is on your quiz. So moving on to number 2, in what way was religion often connected to government in early civilizations? You will find that answer in this highlighted pink text. Pause my video and get that answer now.
In most early civilizations, people believed in many gods and goddesses that controlled most events in their lives. People feared their gods, but also hoped that the gods would protect them from harm. To keep their gods and goddesses happy, priests offered sacrifices and led prayers. This prayer is from the civilization of ancient Sumer. Primary source. May the known and unknown God be pacified. May the known and unknown goddess be pacified. The sin which I have committed, I know not. My God, my sins are 7 times 7. Forgive my sins. My goddess, my sins are 7 times 7. Forgive my sins. Penitential Psalms, translated by Robert F. Harper. From the earliest times, religion included beliefs about life after death. People also looked to their religion for rules about how to treat one another and how to live moral lives.
Number 3, analyze this primary source. So you're looking at this prayer. And the question is, I'll highlight it in blue, to whom is the prayer directed? It does not tell you in this prayer, but who are they praying to? No different than if you have a religious belief now, I'm sure. Pause my video and get the answer to number 3 on page 6 of your digital notebook now.
Job specialization. Job specialization was a fourth feature that was common to civilizations. Most people in early civilizations were farmers. They produced enough food to support many kinds of specialized workers. Skilled craft workers specialized in producing goods. Traders and merchants specialized in buying and selling goods. Job specialization allowed people to develop the many skills and talents needed to create and maintain a civilization.
Page 7 of your digital notebook. Number 1, why was job specialization important for early civilizations? Right here, you will find your answer highlighted in green. Pause my video and find the answer now.
Social classes. A fifth feature of early civilizations was a system of social classes. Social classes are groups of people that occupy different ranks or levels in society. Class structures resembled pyramids, with the smallest number of people at the top and the largest number at the bottom. The highest social class in most early societies was made up of priests and rulers. The people at these ranks had the most power and wealth. The social classes in the middle included farmers, merchants, and skilled workers. Members of these classes varied in wealth and status from one society to another. In many societies, slaves made up the lowest class. Slaves were often prisoners captured in war or poor people who sold themselves to pay their debts.
Okay, social classes on page 8 of your digital notebook. Which shape could you use to describe the structure of social classes in early civilizations? Right here, you will find that answer. And this, in highlighted yellow, number 1, this answer is on your quiz. Please pause my video and get that now. Number 2, what are the 3 different social classes in early civilizations? That takes up these 2 paragraphs. So find the 3 different social classes in these 2 blue highlighted paragraphs.
Public works. Public works were a sixth feature of civilizations. Governments organized workers to build large-scale projects such as roads, water systems, city walls, and granaries where food was stored after harvesting. Building these public works was costly, time-consuming, and often dangerous. Often workers were injured or killed. Still, public works benefited the society as a whole.
All right, number 9 of your digital notebook. Number 1, what did governments organize workers to build? List 4 things. So you're looking under this public works. You're going to find 4 things that they had built. You can probably just get it up to here. So in the pink highlighted text, find the 4 things that organized workers built. Pause my video and do that now.
Architecture was closely related to public works. Early people built and decorated magnificent temples, tombs, and palaces. Many of these buildings served a public function, but they were also objects of beauty. Early civilizations developed other forms of art as well. In this chapter, you can see a number of examples of statues and paintings that date back thousands of years. Skilled craft workers also produced fine luxury items for the upper classes, such as gold jewelry and perfume boxes. Music and literature, too, enriched the lives of early people and became a mark of advanced civilization.
Looking at arts and architecture on page 10 of the digital notebook. What are some examples of the art and architecture that was made during the early civilizations? There are 9 that are listed. You need to look through both of these paragraphs in green. Find at least 4. There are 9 listed, so find at least 4. Pause my video and do that now.
System of writing. The final common feature of many civilizations was a system of writing. Forms of writing varied from picture writing to symbols representing sounds and letters. In some early societies, writing was first developed mainly to record numbers, such as the amount of grain harvested. Eventually, however, people used writing to preserve all kinds of information. They recorded laws, wrote down prayers to the gods, and described the mighty deeds of rulers. Historians have learned much about the early civilizations that left behind written records. With the development of writing, we pass from prehistory to recorded history.
System of writing, page 11 and your final page in your digital notebook. Number 1, what are the 2 forms of writing from the early civilization? You will find that in this text that is highlighted in yellow. Pause my video and get those answers now. Number 2, what did early civilizations use writing for? And there are 4 examples that are listed. There we go. So what did early civilizations use writing for? There are 4 examples listed. You will find these examples in your highlighted blue. So number 2 is highlighted blue. Pause my video and find those answers now. Number 3. This is kind of fill in the blank, but you don't have to fill in the blank. You can just write the answers underneath. With the development of writing, we pass from what to what? So right here is the exact same sentence highlighted in green. With the development of writing, we pass from what to what? Pause my video and find that now. There is an interactive map, the River Valley Civilizations. If you would like to look at it, click here and it will tell you about Egypt and the civilizations that were created there. You have Sumer and the civilizations there, the Indus civilization, and the Shang civilization. So take a few minutes and look through those civilizations now.